Good morning, colleagues. Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to UNSDG informational webinar on global shared services. This time we're introducing UN Fleet, which is not a new service, and you have had the opportunity to hear from this team before. It's one of the closest to heart services for the field, as fleet leasing has been one of the latest and most, let's say, demanding global service for all of the UN agencies. And today we have an amazing group of fleet management experts, as well as the leads from the WFP and UNHCR that has made this collaboration happen. We have Sarah Adam, the director of the Management Services Division from WFP, Dominic Grace, Deputy Director for Administration and Finance, UNHCR, who is also leading the Fleet and Mobility team, Phil Jones, Head of UN Fleet, Neil Agarwal, and Rob McConnell, who are the experts and gurus of the UN Fleet and the main point of contacts for most of your inquiries in the field. So without any further ado, let's start the session, and we hand over this session for an opening to Sarah, followed by Dominic. Over to you, Sarah, please.
Super. Thanks a lot, Zamir. And really, it's a true pleasure to be here and great to see such a great turn up. And we're already at 47 people. So with both really UNHCR and WFP represented here, really to show and share the great vital work that is actually being done under the UN Fleet. We're sharing today, and what we're really sharing today is a really proven example of exactly what the UN needs right now, in terms of agencies working together, sharing expertise, and really streamlining the provision of essential services that keep our operations running. It's a model fully aligned to the UN vision in terms of collaboration, efficiencies, innovations in action, and really in eliminating a lot of the duplication and inefficiencies that we have. It's great to be here, as Zamir said, with Dominic Grace, and I'll be handing it over to him shortly. And then we'll be handing it over to Phil as the head of the UN Fleet, as well as Rob and Neil to provide further details in terms of the partnership as we actually move forward on that. But first, really let me briefly sort of touch on a number of things. As many of you already know, that the UN Fleet was established by UNHCR and WFP as really a joint initiative at the request of the UN and agencies and entities to offer a unified, cost-efficient and sustainable solution for fleet management across the UN system, building on the experiences and the expertise and knowledge of both organizations, dating back to 2007 for WFP and 2014 for UNHCR. In terms of, so UN Fleet really represents a key contribution to the UN reform agenda. It's truly UN reform in action, and fully aligned to the Secretary General's UN 2.0 vision, designed to make the UN system much more efficient, effective, and responsive to the global challenges that we're actually facing at the moment. As many of you know, vehicle leasing has long been proven to be a cost-effective and efficient solution for both in WFP and UNHCR operations. UN Fleet now really extends this opportunity across the UN system, allowing all agencies to benefit from the similar efficiencies in vehicle acquisition and maintenance. So since establishing it in 2022, I'm really pleased to actually say that 22 UN agencies and entities have signed the UN Fleet Service Agreement, a clear reflection on the growing trust and the demand for these services across the board. So to date, nearly 1,000 vehicles have been ordered across the 95 countries, a strong indication again of operations relevant to impact. And then the UN Fleet has really established that proven record of effective delivery services with consistency in terms of high client and satisfaction across partners and within the UN system. It's a great example of collaboration translating into real results, and we're proud to see how this really joint effort has come to such in such a short period come together. With that, let me take a moment and then hand it over to Dom to share more on how we're building on the momentum, the next phases. And so over to you, Dom.
Great, thanks, Sarah. Welcome, everyone. As you can hear from Sarah, we're very proud to have delivered UN Fleet, which is now a global and fairly mature business service. I mean, I think that's quite impressive, as we only really became operational in 2022, and the first vehicles were leased in 2023. And as you heard from Sarah, we've got some very respectable volume now. And not only that, you'll hear from Rob that the client ratings, the feedback that we get from these leases is extremely high. So we'll look forward to seeing that later in the presentation. I think, you know, given the current financial constraints that all agencies, all organizations are facing, leasing, obviously, for your mobility services, your transport services, offers a service which is lower cost, standardized, and more fuel efficient. So you get a lower operating cost, you get a lower fuel cost, etc. And that's why it's really important to integrate UN Fleet into your service offering. And we're very happy to report that a number of organizations, UNICEF, UNFPA, OCHA, ILO, have made that mandatory. So whenever they have a need for a vehicle in the field, they go to UN Fleet and they lease, and UN Fleet ships them out a vehicle. Now, looking forward to 2026, WFP and UNHCR are going to be transitioning their entire fleets over to UN Fleet, which is close to 10,000 vehicles, and that will make UN Fleet by far the largest fleet operator in the UN, and obviously continuing to grow. In addition to this, in addition to the basic vehicle leasing service, there's also integrated a full vehicle insurance integrated into the leasing rates. So if you ever have an issue with a vehicle crash, for example, the vehicles get repaired and get back on the road very swiftly and very sort of cost efficiently as well. So really, all that to say, we would strongly encourage any agencies that haven't already signed up to take advantage of this and mandate Fleet as the vehicle leasing provider for their country office operations. And really, through UN Fleet, we are advancing a smarter and more unified and more sustainable UN system, and one that delivers much better value and greater impact for all the people that we serve. And at this point, I'm going to hand over to Rob to dive into the presentation. Thanks.
I'm Phil Jones. Thanks very much, Don, Sarah, for the intros. As you can see, you know, we've achieved a lot as a team to get the service up and running. We're very proud of that. But most importantly, you know, we've got a great team behind it, and who are very customer focused. We're really focused on providing efficiency, cost effectiveness, and a high quality service at the same time. I will pass over to Rob and Neil, who will go through the details of the presentation now. We're trying to keep the intros a bit shorter, and then we've got a Q&A session after that, so you can feel free to put your questions into the comments as we go through, or wait until the end. Rob, over to you.
Great. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks, Sarah. Thank you, Dominic. Thank you, Phil. Very positive intro to a very positive service, we feel. As Dominic just mentioned, when we deliver such webinars, we do have quite a number of questions from the participants. What I would encourage you to do, please, is if you have a question, if you could type it into the chat. We won't interrupt the flow, but we will make sure you have a long enough opportunity we will address those questions. And after the presentation, we will circulate a kind of sheet of frequently asked questions. All the questions that you raise, we will circulate with answers in writing afterwards, thanks to the support from Zamir and his team. And indeed, thanks to Zamir and your team to enable us to make this presentation. It's relatively new, but it's really well established now. So during this presentation, we're going to go through, we give you an overview, discuss the UN Fleet offer, the achievements to date, and very importantly, a cost comparison of leasing a vehicle from UN Fleet as opposed to buying it in the traditional way. We will explain that. And finally, we have session for the Q&A. My colleague Neil will be joining me, and thanks very much to Neil. Neil is really our customer interface. We call him the voice of the customer. He is the one who deals on a daily basis with the clients, their inquiries, and so on. So I'll do the high level. As both Sarah and Dominic have mentioned very kindly, this is a joint operation between these two agencies. And when you combine that experience, it's more than 25 years this has been happening. Sarah mentioned 2007 and 2014 as being milestone dates. So there's a lot of experience. And as we put this model together under the big initiative, we've really been driven by the guiding principles of UN reform. These are the underpinning principles of the business model. But as we move on, the underlying principles of UN Fleet and the service offering, if we can have the next slide, Neil. The underlying principles of the service offering, we are looking for safe, efficient, and sustainable fleets. And by using UN Fleet, we're allowing other UN agencies to access this model. It is tried, tested, and proven and driven by these principles, which indeed are the driving principles of any professionally managed light vehicle fleet. So, Neil, you're the one who very often explains the benefits and how it works to the client agencies. May I hand over to you?
Yeah, certainly. So how do we provide safe, efficient, and sustainable light vehicles for the UN? So we provide a range of new standard vehicles in stock. So every vehicle you get from UN Fleet is brand new. And we buy the vehicles in bulk from our supplier. So we hold them in stock. And that means the delivery time to your office is relatively short. The standard lease duration for all UN Fleet vehicles is 5 years or 60 months, with the option of terminating after 6 months. So your maximum lease duration, 5 years, minimum 6 months. It means that every 5 years, you're getting a new vehicle that meets the latest safety regulations, emission standards, and you're saving on those fuel and maintenance costs, which we know increase significantly the longer that you operate a vehicle. Low upfront costs. So, we are in the UN, which, certainly is going through budget constraints at the moment. So when you compare it to vehicle procurement, it's a relatively low upfront cost. The cost is spread over the 5-year lease period, and fees are fixed for the duration of the lease. So from budget perspective, you know exactly how much that vehicle is going to cost you for the full 5-year lease before you enter into any agreement. Insurance for vehicle loss and damage is included. So Dom went into this a little bit in the intro, but all vehicles come with UN Fleet insurance, which covers against loss, including theft and damage for the full 60-month lease. The only thing you need to do locally is you do need to get third-party liability insurance, which is mandatory in most countries. So UN Fleet also manages shipment. So in our vehicle preparation centers, we have 3 around the world, one in Thailand, one in Rotterdam, and one in Dubai. We install accessories that you order on your vehicle prior to delivery, and then we manage the full shipment of the vehicle to the final destination. And we're managing vehicle procurement on the front end. So we're buying vehicles in bulk from our suppliers, keeping them in stock. And then at the end of the lease period, UN Fleet is then managing the disposal. So you would simply hand us the keys to the vehicle in country, and then we would be responsible for what can be an administrative headache. In terms of client agencies to date, so far we have 24 UN entities that have signed the global agreement to use UN Fleet services. Some of these agencies have, as Dom mentioned, made it mandatory to lease through UN Fleet. So UNICEF, UNFPA, all new vehicle acquisition is through our service. And you can see we have a combination of smaller agencies, bigger agencies. If you have 1 vehicle you need or 100, UN Fleet is there for you. And the way we typically do this is we sign an agreement at a headquarters level, which then allows us to offer our services to every office or mission within that agency. Since launching in October of 2022, so we are actually at our 3-year birthday, let's say, we have over 900 vehicles on lease and confirmed orders. And UN Fleet, we don't want to just provide vehicles, we want to provide sustainable fleet. And to that end, 24% of those 900 vehicles are lower emission, so hybrid, electric, and those with a Euro 4 emission standard or better. And something we're very proud of is our footprint. So we have now vehicles on lease and confirmed orders in 95 different countries. So all the countries on this map you see highlighted in blue, we have UN Fleet presence. You can also see on this map, there's 3 squares that say UN Fleet. Those are the 3 vehicle preparation centers that I mentioned previously. So we have centers where we keep those standard vehicles in stock in Lamshebang, Thailand, in Dubai, and in Rotterdam. And this list is growing every day. So we got to order today, new country, 96. I think the goal by the end of this year for sure is 100. And every time we deliver a vehicle, we then ask, hey, what did we do well? What do we need to improve? And the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. So, our client satisfaction rating to date is 88%. I don't want to pat Rob or myself on the shoulder, but we're doing well so far, but we need to continue to deliver that excellence in customer service. And the interface that we use to have individuals place requests with us or orders for vehicles is the UN Fleet portal. So it's unfleet.org. I can drop in the link in the chat after. Anyone with a UN agency email address can log in. So you can view the vehicle catalog, accessory catalog, get a host of information on UN Fleet. Then there's a second level of access. So if you're an agency that has signed a global agreement, you can then place requests and place orders in our system. And the best thing is you can see the status of your request all the way from placement until delivery of the vehicle. And you get automated email messages throughout the whole process telling you, hey, your vehicle is now ready for shipment. Hey, your vehicle has arrived in country. So you're informed throughout the process. One question we get often, so we like to answer off the bat, is UN Fleet the same thing as the UN Booking Hub? And the answer is no. It's a little confusing because both initiatives are at least partially driven by WFP, but these are 2 separate initiatives. So UN Fleet is an independent entity that provides vehicle leasing services to the rest of the UN. The UN Booking Hub is an interagency booking platform. So this deals with carpooling, flights, and accommodation. 2 separate initiatives. And Rob, I'll pass this one on to you.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. So, Neil has given us a few bits of data, a bit of stats, and these stats are really important to us. We've got around 950 vehicles on lease. The target is to make that 1,000 by the end of the year. We've got 25 countries to which we've supplied vehicles. Neil's under pressure to make that 100 by the end of the year. And one of the other, and his performance data, customer satisfaction, 88%. Why isn't it 98%? I mean, we need to drive that up as well. But another really critical performance indicator or metric is what is the cost benefit of leasing over buying. Here, this very simple slide rather hides a huge amount of work that we did behind this to be able to produce these figures. We took a whole bunch of genuine vehicle leasing requests from different client agencies in different locations for different vehicles. And then we took what our quotation was, and then we compared it directly with costs from the key suppliers that you are likely to use as your alternative if buying. We did a detailed analysis. The cost over the 5 years for a leasing vehicle against buying a vehicle is 35% cost efficiency. This, we are talking nearly $20,000 per vehicle difference. Now, this is a detailed analysis. We can share that detailed analysis. We're very proud of it, but we continually are driving down our internal cost, and moving with WFP and UNHCR next year will enable these greater economies of scale. We think that the business case for leasing over buying is compelling. And anybody who thinks that they're happy to spend 35% more just to buy, I would love to sit with you and go through the case and argue the benefit of leasing over buying.